Sweden's royal regalia are kept deep in the vaults of the Royal Treasury, underneath the Royal Palace in Stockholm, in a museum which is open to the public. The crowns and coronets have not been worn by Swedish royals since 1907, but they are still displayed at weddings, christenings and funerals. Until 1974 the crown jewels were also displayed at the solemn opening of the Riksdag. Among the oldest priceless objects are the sword of Gustav Vasa and the crown, orb, sceptre and key of King Erik XIV. Crown of Sweden and Royal Regalia. The Crown of Erik XIV, made in Stockholm in 1561 by Flemish goldsmith Cornelius Verwelden, is typical of the Renaissance style of jewelry of his time. Originally his crown bore 4 pairs of the letter E and R, the initials of the Latin form of his name Ericus Rex, in green enamel, each pair being on either side of the central stones on the front, sides and back of the circlet. When he was deposed by his brother, John III, John had each of these letters covered with identical cartouches, each set with 2 pearls. The Swedish monarchs of the houses of Palatinates, Freibrücken, of Hesse and of Holstein-Gottorp preferred to use Queen Christina's crown rather than that of Erik XIV. However, the House of Bernadotte chose to use Erik's crown. However, they replaced the original orb and cross at the top of the crown with a new large orb enameled blue with gold star and set with diamond and with a cross of 10 diamonds. They also replaced the original pearls on the top of the 8 large ornaments on the circlet with diamonds, and replacing the pearl cartouches with 8 diamond rosettes smoothed the circlet 45 degrees. This is the form the crown has in the portrait of Oscar II painted by Oscar Björk. In the early 20th century this orb and cross and these diamond rosettes were removed and the crown restored to essentially the form it had. Under John III, Erik also had sceptre, an orb and a key made for his coronation. This key is an item found only in the Swedish regalia. His sceptre was made by Hans Heydrich in 1561 and is of gold, enameled and set with diamonds, rubies and sapphires, and still used as the monarch's sceptre. It originally was surmounted by a large round sapphire at the top enclosed by 2 intersecting rows of pearls. This sapphire was lost at the baptism of Gustav IV Adolf and was replaced by the present dark blue enameled orb in 1780. The orb is also of gold, and is unique among European regalia in that it is engraved and enameled with a map of the Earth according to the cartography current at the time it was made. At the top of the orb is a smaller orb in blue enamel and covered with stars, above which is a small cross formed of a table-cut diamond surrounded by 3 pearls. The orb was made by Cornelius Verweyden and probably engraved by Franz Bager in Antwerp in 1568. The present blue enamel dates from 1751 and replaces the original black enamel that was badly damaged at the coronation of Charles XI. The original model used for the engraving is not known, but the engraver placed the northern hemisphere upside down, while placing the names where they would have been if the map were right side up. The anointing horn was made in 1606 in Stockholm by Peter Killempe for the coronation of Carl Ix and is of gold in the shape of a bull's horn, supported by a pedestal. The large end is closed by a lip with a chain, and on the opposite point of the horn stands a small figure of justice holding a pair of scales. The horn is decorated in ornamental relief work with multicolored opaque and translucent enamel and set with 10 diamonds and 14 rubies, including 6 Karelian rubies. The burial crown and sceptre of King Carl IX are kept at Strängnäs Cathedral. These items were originally interred with his body but were later exhumed and put on display. Crown of Queen Christina. As her coronation and state crown, Christina of Sweden used the crown that her mother Maria Eleonora of Brandenburg had used as the queen consort of Gustav II Adolf. It was made in Stockholm in 1620 by German goldsmith Ruprecht Miller and originally had two arches in a very fine foliage design in gold with black enameling and set with rubies and diamonds, with a small blue enameled orb and a cross, both set with diamonds. Christina had two more arches added to her mother's crown matching the first two and had more diamonds and rubies added to it to enhance the crown's appearance as the crown of a queen regnant. She also added a cap of purple satin embroidered in gold and set with more diamonds to the inside of the crown. The circlet of the crown has 8 large cabochon rubies set beneath each of the 8 arches of the crown and diamonds in large rosette patterns in the intervening spaces of the circlet. Queen Christina's crown was the crown chosen to be displayed with other items of the Swedish regalia and artifacts from the Swedish royal collections in a 1988-1989 exhibition at the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C., and the Minneapolis Institute of Art commemorating the founding of Delaware as a Swedish colony in 1638. Crown, sceptre and orb of the Queen Consort. The crown of Louisa Ulrika was made in Stockholm in 1751 by Andreas Almgren and was modelled on the crown made by Ronde for the French Queen Consort, Marie Leczinska, to wear at her wedding to Louis XV of France in 1725. It was, in turn, the model for the Norwegian Queen's crown. It is made of silver set entirely with diamonds. On the circlet rests representations of 8 open crowns with trefoils for leaves from back of which rise 8 half-arches which curl back on themselves at the top where they support a blue enameled orb and a cross also set with diamonds. Between each of these 8 open crowns are 8 small points each topped with a diamond. Inside the cap is a scarlet cap of velvet strewn with silver sequins. 2 large diamonds are set between the circlet and the front crown, the central trefoil in the front of the crown being replaced with a larger oval diamond. This is the crown from which Louisa Ulrika removed 44 diamonds and pawned in Berlin to finance her attempted coup in 1756. This is the crown still used on formal occasions such as the royal weddings and funerals of Swedish queen consorts. The sceptre and orb made for Gunilla Bilka, the wife of John III, continued to be used by succeeding Swedish queen consorts, although this orb was habitually used by Swedish monarchs of the Palatinates Freiburgen, of Hesse and of Holstein-Gottorp dynasties, though those of the House of Bernadotte preferred to use the orb of Erik XIV. The use of an orb by a queen consort appears to be original to Sweden, although the practice was also adopted by Norway during the period of its dual monarchy with Sweden. Crown Prince Coronet. The Crown Prince Coronet was made for Charles X Gustav to wear at the coronation of Christina as her designated heir. It was hurriedly made in 2 weeks' time from parts of an earlier queen's crown. It has the form of a radial crown with 8 triangular rays of spikes and has survived intact except for the addition by Gustav III for his coronation in 1772 of 2 black enameled sheaves of grain, the heraldic emblem of the Vasa dynasty, one between the front 2 rays and the other between the back 2 rays, replacing the smaller ornaments still found between the other rays. Originally worn over an ermine-lined hat, the Crown Prince's coronet is now worn with a cap of light blue satin covered with gold embroidery. The heraldic crown for the Crown Princess is based on the actual appearance of this crown and also shows a central Vasa sheaf between 4 rays of a jeweled radial crown. 7 similar coronets, but of a simpler design and with rays in the central position in the front and back, and with 8 smaller sheaves of gold between the 8 rays, were made in the 18th and 19th centuries for the other princes. 1771 Prince Frederick Adolf, 1771 Prince Oscar, 1844 Prince Wilhelm, 1902, and princesses, those of the princesses being of similar design, but much smaller. These coronets are set primarily with diamonds, emeralds and pearls. The heraldic crown for a duke or duchess is similarly depicted as a jeweled radial crown with 5 rays. The crown prince coronet and one of these princely coronets were displayed on either side of the altar in Storkyrkan, the Cathedral of Stockholm, for the wedding of Crown Princess Victoria of Sweden and Daniel Westling on June 19, 2010. Insignia of Orders of Chivalry. In addition to the crown jewels proper, the Royal Treasury also includes some jeweled insignia of the Swedish Royal Orders of Chivalry, especially of the Order of the Seraphim, the Order of Carl XIII, the Order of Vasa, the Order of the Polar Star and the Order of the Sword.